it's awesome because everyone's equal on the pickleball court. So now networking and having those business conversations are happening on the pickleball court more and more between women and men or women and women, which is awesome. And because of that, there's a lot of new stuff coming all of that is coming directly from pickleball courts.
Welcome back to the Future of Pickleball. This is the show. We bring the good folks on that are driving pickleball, making things happen. Really interesting lady today. Kim Bastien, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Kim is an interesting lady. Kim is very involved in a number of things. She runs partnerships for a media company called the Dink. She's very involved. She does some foundation work. Two really interesting things that we're going to talk to her about today are her involvement and perspectives on women and business women in pickleball, and also some things about some family stuff that she's got going on. But I'd like to start, Kim, give me a little bit of an idea as to what your intro to pickleball was. What was your background?
So my background was actually not pickleball. My background was corporate positions and running sales teams and training sales team members in the corporate world. Then the pandemic hit, and I said, you know what, I really want to get into something fun. I love growing companies, and the Dink just came along, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I love sports, I'm in.
Oh, very cool indeed. So describe just a little bit about what you do with partnerships for the Dink.
So I'm head of partnerships at the Dink, and what we do is we kind of consider ourselves as the ESPN of pickleball. So we're number one in news and media. We have the largest pickleball audience. We produce 2 podcasts. We have our newsletter that we're known for, all of our social media and more. And it's my job to break brands, whether they're endemic or non-endemic, into the pickleball space and get as many eyeballs on their brand as possible and run success that way.
Very nice. You know, in the pickleball space, one of the things that has happened is there's been so much growth. New media companies like the Dink have been fairly recent in the space, and yet they've had an ability to grow dramatically. What do you see from a woman executive's perspective on how pickleball can maybe have a change going forward in the marketplace?
I think pickleball is amazing from coming from an executive kind of position in the corporate world. What's nice is you can only work your way up so much if you don't know how to play golf. And I didn't know how to play golf. I definitely, volunteered to drive the cart and entertain, but I did not play golf. And because of that, I've talked to other entrepreneurs and now speakers such as like Jamie Schmidt and other people where it's awesome because everyone's equal on the pickleball court. So now networking and having those business conversations are happening on the pickleball court more and more between women and men or women and women, which is awesome. And because of that, there's a lot of new stuff coming all of that is coming directly from pickleball courts.
Now, when you talk about that corporate thing, I was in the corporate world my whole working life. Events, activities, whether they were sales meetings or conferences and conventions, do you see pickleball stepping into that arena in entertainment, team building, those sorts of things?
100%. 100%. I remember going to like team building and you do like rock climbing and all of that. And now I know for sure there's corporations out there that have pickleball courts at their corporate office. And they're actually running like corporate tournaments and stuff now, team building. There's corporations that are putting pickleball courts in like maybe old boardrooms that they're not using anymore. It's just a great outlet for the employees, but it also brings everyone together and they're able to do something that's fun. It's easy to learn, it's quick, and everybody in your office can play. You don't have to be like a sports person.
Sure. Well, and certainly all of the country club sports, whether it's golf or tennis, there's always, that's a component of the thing. It was interesting when I came out of a lifetime career in the sporting goods business, and I remember you couldn't step into a new sport and not think of the demographics of it and think of what the socioeconomic impacts were. And I just said, oh my goodness, it's inexpensive. And there's a billion different ways. You've got already infrastructure there to add court surfaces to. So I really lit into it from that standpoint because I'd had a lot of experience in other growth sports, and usually infrastructure cost was a major hurdle, and then that affected who could be participating in it.
Right.
And you've got some experience with underprivileged or disadvantaged groups. What do you see that way?
Yeah, so I just joined the board of directors for Pickleball for Good, which is a nonprofit. Our first event is in the fall for underprivileged youth. But the goal is really to go around to different socioeconomic kind of communities that are struggling and teach them something that's positive, that they could gain some, just have fun, honestly.
Sure.
And also it would probably help the community, bring the community together, and also gain some positive, feel good about themselves when they're learning something new.
No, I think you're so on track there. One of the things that's I literally grew up playing tennis.
Yeah.
I wasn't from an advantaged family that most of the other kids that I knew, but I was in the right place at the right time. But so often the burden was, if you're not at the camp, you're not at the school, you're not in the junior excellence program, you just can't progress through. I've wondered if pickleball might not become the real entree sport for everybody to court sports, whether they went from that to tennis or that to pickleball or to racquetball, squash, badminton. That court sports are a whole cool thing that a lot of young people just don't ever get exposed to.
I fully agree. Even part of the Dink team, like we have somebody on our team that in high school, that was not their thing. Sports was 100% not their thing.
Sure.
I did track and field. I loved sports. I was actually rather pretty good at it for a New Hampshire person. But when it comes to pickleball, you don't have to be anything, like all backgrounds. You don't have to be, whether it's geeky or nerdy or, the jock in your school or whatever you call it nowadays. Everyone's the same on the pickleball court. I mean, on these calls that I have, it just amazes me because I could be talking to a past Olympic gold medal person from beach volleyball or soccer or football or, someone who won a Super Bowl. And then the next call, I could be talking to a grandmother that created a new product from their kitchen table.
Yeah.
So, and that's the cool thing about pickleball is it's just all encompassing. And that's one of the driving forces is now that I think in 2023, the focus overall that I keep hearing over and over again is grassroots, and trying to impact the youth. That way it can work its way up, because it's like in other shows that you've had, it's an older demographic going down to the youth, so it's the opposite of all other sports. And that's the impact that I personally, as Kim Bastien would like to have, and then as the Dink team member, the Dink as a whole would also like to have, is we want to, impact the grassroots, and in 5 years or maybe less, I mean, a child could get a scholarship, maybe to even college.
Oh, I think it's going to be less than 5 years.
It's going to be way less.
We've got 60 colleges and universities that I'm aware of that are kind of in the sphere. I'll bet that doubles, triples, maybe quadruples within the next 2 years because
easily
it serves so many of them.
Yep.
No, I think that's going to be great fun. Having been a business sports person for my whole adult life, I think that the magic, and I love what you're doing and you're talking about, because we've never had a sport that the gap, if you will, between men and women is so close. I've told athletic directors that I think up through 16 or 17-year-old girls, your number one player wouldn't necessarily have to be a boy, and to have a co-ed sport, it could be such fun socially, all of the interactions.
I think there's a big impact there. Like, I think it was Mesa, Arizona at the MLP where Annalee Waters' team was up against Tyson McGuffin's team, and Tyson was doing the chest pumping, and it was, I had my teenagers sitting next to me, and then Annalee did it back after she had the point. That's impactful to the teenager that's sitting next to me.
Yeah.
She's like, she's on the court with not necessarily other females and other teenagers. It's everybody's on that court.
And if I recall that, she did pretty well in that thing.
She did very well.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that's impacting the youth. Like they're seeing that. Those clips are coming up on TikTok. Like all of that stuff as well is hitting them. They're like, well, wait a minute, what's this?
Right.
And after playing for a short period of time, they're like, I can do this. I want to go for it.
Yeah, that characteristic of our sport that it's easy to learn and
Yep.
challenging to master is such a neat module.
Yep.
And I have traveled very extensively in the pickleball world. I've seen some things. I was in a city in Idaho where the high school junior varsity coach was bringing the entire team out to play pickleball as a
That's
footwork
cool.
exercise. And at the end of it, and these kids were having a gas. At the end of it, I didn't realize all the girlfriends were standing outside the fence wishing they could get in. And I
Right.
thought, well, so if we're getting that with the high school football team, where does this thing go? It'll be very fun.
It's going to be a blast. I mean, it's been a blur. 2022 was a blur for us at the Dink and for me personally. And then 2023, I've had conversations from everywhere like, hey, can we have you guys go out to like an island and make some content and have fun and get the word out because we want to do XYZ for a nonprofit, all the way to, hey, I have this awesome new product that's going to help people who can't hold the paddle, hold it better so they can play. Or I have these amazing eyewear that's going to come out. So for people with low vision now, they can see the ball and they can play. So there's just tons of stuff for women, for able-bodied people, non-able-bodied people that are coming on the market to bring everyone together even more. But as a woman in business, and I've been in around the block for a little while, I love it because when you go to an event like this or whoever I talk to, everyone's just incredibly nice. And they're incredibly nice because they just love to play pickleball. And if they don't know how to play pickleball when I'm on the calls, by the time we're done our 30-minute call, they usually go try it, and I'll get a text message or an email back saying, hey,
fun.
I tried it, I'm
Yeah.
hooked. So it's an amazing.
Now, I want to just visit with you a little bit. I understand in your family that you have a daughter that has challenges.
Yeah, so I have two kids. I have a 17-year-old named Callie, and she's falling into pickleball. She loves it. When I was out here, when I was out at an event, Callie was actually kind of finding people on social media and saying, hey, I think my mom's at that event. And I was standing right next to somebody and she was chatting, like literally networking from afar. She's really smart. And then I have Kiara. She's older and she has some developmental disabilities. She's also deaf, so and she has low vision. But we've adapted like buying certain colored balls for her. She loves playing it. So it's something that when you have all levels in a family that's so different, we can actually go on the pickleball court and do something together, which
fun.
is very cool because it's hard when everyone's at different levels. Even just a simple board game is hard. And now we can actually go out and play pickleball together. So it's pretty cool.
I think that, and the fact that it's physical and you're active, and
Yeah.
that's got to be a marvelous
It's
new
awesome.
module.
Yeah, and it hasn't really taken off yet where I live, so it's there. There are people playing it, but I just happened to find this one college that has painted lines on their tennis court. So I can literally walk up there in the middle of the woods and we have it like to ourselves at the moment, but that will change.
It is interesting. And with all of the different places there are around the United States now, there are some little pockets. They don't last very long.
No,
and then
it's not going to last long.
It's overwhelmed. Well, now, let's talk for just a second, though. You've mentioned a couple of different times about how much you're enjoying as a woman having a module in there. What would you like to see the sport doing as we move forward into the middle of the decade?
I think moving forward, you're going to see probably some women like empowerment events where, we can get some women together and maybe have a discussion about business or how to negotiate contracts or how to work with your sponsors or how to do different things, and then play some pickleball together and have fun. You'll definitely see that more of like networking in general.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see some co-ed networking as well around pickleball and bringing in courts and doing all these different things. It's just, the talk about pickleball is absolutely insane now. Like, this was a real thing. Like, I literally networked on an airplane on the way to an event just because the person sitting next to me wasn't from this country. So they're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I do pickleball," and I like travel with a pickleball and paddle. If I'm bored at the airport, I'll like, dink around or whatever. And I took the ball out. I'm like, "This is a pickleball." And they're like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." And I like whipped out the paddle. I'm like, "This is a paddle." And they're like, "That's so neat." And like 3 seats over was like, "I play pickleball." Like, "Are you going to this event?" I'm like, "Yes." And then 3 seats up, "I play pickleball too. What's that paddle?" Now my paddle is going around the airplane. Like, that just sums up pickleball. Like,
Yeah.
it just sums it up. You say it, instantly someone will smile. Like, so you just say the word and they'll smile.
Well,
But as far as business, you're going to see more corporations build pickleball courts at their corporate offices. You're going to see them put, roll-out courts in conference rooms. Definitely activations. There are so many activations coming up across the country that they're just going to pop them up, do events, have influence, and then take them down. And it's not going to stop from there. I know about activations in courts and all sorts of stuff changing the travel industry too. So it's on fire.
Well, it's interesting as you describe that, and I can't believe that I haven't thought of this before, but having always been in sports, when we would be at, whether it was a national sales meeting or a trade show or convention, there was always, everybody was an athlete, everybody was an outdoors person, so there were all kinds of little modules, and oh my goodness, could pickleball at the outdoor retailers show be amazing, or any
Right.
kind of event. And now every other corporation and every other industry in America, it could just be easy and fun. And somebody can walk on the court the first time they've ever had a paddle in their hand and have some fun. I can hit the ball in that corner. And
I know. I wish I had pickleball when I was traveling so much before in a different job, because it would have been a blast.
Yeah.
It would have been a blast, because you can literally play anywhere. I've seen people string up cords when they're camping. RV companies are now having it as part of their package when they buy RVs. It's absolutely insane right now.
so what I want to do is I want to make sure that anybody that might be watching this that would like to get in touch with you, particularly on the women's issues, how do they reach you? How do they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best ways to reach me is on LinkedIn. You can just type in Kim Bastien, or feel free to just email me. It's fine too.
Spell Bastien for them.
It's Bastien. It's my ancestors came over and spelt it wrong. And my email is kim@thedinkpb, as in pickleball.com.
Perfect. And I want to let you guys know something that's very cool. The Dink, along with this show and all the best media in pickleball, is on Selkirk TV. It's a free app that you can get on your phone. It broadcasts live pro pickleball events. It's the place to be. Selkirk TV, put it on your app. You'll love it.
Download it today.
Kim, thank you very much. This has been great. I look
Thank you.
forward to this. What a fun thing. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do one. I love Kim's involvement on the women's side of things. Thank you all. We'll see you soon.